Now, today I'm going to talk about something I've never really touched a whole lot on. I've talked about it a little bit in the memoir. And if this is the first time seeing me, again, my wife passed away from alcohol use disorder a little over 5 years ago, and we were married for 25 years. But what was her why? What drove her to go down that road? And I think it was a number of things, but the core reason was some trauma that she had when she was 16 years old, which really, I think, was really the pathway that made her drink and caused her anxiety and stress to drink to begin with. I mean, part of it was family culture, and I've talked about that. Her parents drank. It was normalized drinking wine, white wine, red wine in her family, and there was definitely a genetic disposition. But I think the biggest catalyst is what I'm going to talk about in a minute, which was the trauma that she faced when she was 16 years old. And it was pretty dramatic. And she was still really, I'm going to tell you about it, how I was introduced to this trauma when I first met her. And I didn't really understand it at the time. But as time went on, I realized how much and what an important effect it had on her. And the reason why I talk about it now is because I think so many people who are going down the road of alcohol use disorder did have some form of trauma. Not everyone, but I think it's a catalyst. And if someone has the ability to really think back in their history, what caused them to go down this fork in the road? They went this way or they went that way, and there's generally some type of watershed event that occurred. Well, this will be Amanda's watershed occurrence. And it's really kind of sad, but let's continue. Again, real quick, I have a complete coaching program. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. I set up a breakthrough call. The link is in the link tree on this page. It takes about 45 minutes. We're going to do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family, or just you as an individual. The call is free. The course is definitely not. But I'm looking for people who are committed to really reinventing themselves and changing their life and the direction of their life. Set up a call, and we'll talk to you soon. I think part of Amanda's real core issue was her relationship with her parents. Amanda was a very different personality. She was very bubbly, outgoing, kind of wore her emotions on her sleeve. You kind of knew what was going on with her. And her parents were much more, they were from Canada. They were much more upper crustic, not as emotional, kind of cold in that way. And I think there was a real breach between them. But what happened when she was 16, she had a boyfriend who was 19 at the time, and I think, she was very deeply in love with this guy. And I think, at that impressionable age of 16, unfortunately, she became pregnant, unfortunately. And as a result, it created a huge upheaval in their family structure. And her parents actually made her, she was not allowed to keep the child, unfortunately. I never really heard a whole lot about the details, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is that they sent her away to an all-girls school. So I think she was pulled away from her home. She was sent 500 miles away north to an all-girls school at the age of 16. And it was very traumatic for her. She not only had to give up her baby, she was really shunned from her family and really felt like an outcast as a result. On top of that, she had to break up with her boyfriend, who really, in her opinion, certainly in her experience, was her first love. And she was torn apart from, her boyfriend, who she felt love, a certain kind of love for the first time in her life. She had to give up her child, and then she was excommunicated from her family all at the same time. And I think it was a triple whammy that really sent her down the road of anxiety and stress, and really this deep insecurity that she felt because she was shunned from her family at such an early age. And I think for anybody, that would be a lot to take in even as an adult. But as a 16-year-old, to really give up everything, your entire identity. You had to give up your child. You had to give up your relationship. If she was 20, this wouldn't have happened. But she was 16, so she was underage, which is unfortunate. And her parents were so cold about it, and so, this is what's going to happen. You're not making your decisions on your own. And I think they should have allowed her to do that, but they didn't. And I know they believed it was what was best for her, but I definitely would think this set her down a path of emotional trauma. And I think that's when her drinking began. I think the peer pressure in high school, even the girls, they drank. I know one of her really good friends, they started having drinking problems at 17, 18 years old. I found out years later that this was the case. And it really, this was when she started drinking wine on a regular basis. So it was far too young, and trauma and family culture and hereditary disposition was a big part of the reason. But her trauma was definitely the catalyst. And then I really came about it from the beginning, even before we were married. She used to cry on my chest. She used to cry to sleep about this event. How cold her parents had been and how hurt she still was. And I met her 15 years later. And this happened when she was 16. I met her when she was 30. She was like 31 years old. That was 15 years later. And it was still very fresh in her mind and very, very troubling to her. The fact that she was still crying and just opening up about this horrific event. Eventually, she grew out of it, but by then, I think she got a lot of help when she was going to rehabs. Again, another 15 years into the future, but by then the damage had been done. By then, with the alcohol, she was chemically, physically, emotionally, and psychologically addicted to the alcohol because of this traumatic event. And it's really sad to think about it. And I talk about it now because I think it's relatable. I think this type of story will resonate with a lot of other people. That maybe, certainly with women, that there might have been some abuse, or either sexes. There could have been abuse, physically, emotionally, sexually, some kind of abuse, some kind of trauma like this happens so much. So many of my clients have gone down this road. And this is really the reason why I talk about it, because it's something that needs to be discussed, it needs to be brought out, and it's a big reason why people go down the path of alcohol use disorder to begin with. And again, you can find this story and so many more in Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. The book is available on this page. You can go to the link tree. You can get it on my website. There's also a link for the international. You can purchase it anywhere in the world. The hard copy is also available on Amazon. Ebook form is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the Apple website. And again, thanks so much for listening.